Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I want to just invite you to take a few moments to get grounded with me as we're letting everyone filter in. So go ahead and just close your eyes. And as you are here, feel yourself welcoming your spirit into your body, as if your spirit and your body were soulmates. And breathe into this sacred union of soul and body, and the sense of belonging that comes along with it. There, that's good. Welcome to Reclaiming the Wise Witch. I want to thank you so much for joining me for this webinar today. I really appreciate you joining me for this new moon. And I have to say, honestly, with everything going on in the world, it felt a little bit strange to do this webinar today. And I felt like, how can I authentically show up with everything that we are processing from what is happening in the Ukraine and really just the chaos all over the world right now. And I was thinking about how, doing work like this and showing up for this webinar is actually so incredibly important, because actually right now the energy of the witch is needed so incredibly much. The witch is the great transformer, the great healer. I think we're also processing a lot personally right now, and I think that will continue. We'll continue having different activations within our own personal lives that can sometimes be a little bit challenging. And it's just made me actually want to step up even more as a guide for folks considering joining or considering reclaiming or coming into the healer that you always have been. So I want to thank you for joining me today. I want to thank you for joining me at this time. We're going to kind of get into that whole energy of reclaiming the wise witch. I also wanted to do a ceremony today. It is the new moon after all, and I feel like it's really, really important for us to join together and have ceremony. And also, I'm going to get into everything that is going to be coming up in my course, Witchwise, and it starts on the Spring Equinox. So I'm going to get into what you can expect there. And I'm going to give you some hints and clues for the Gates of the Goddess game at the end. So yes, we have 45 minutes together. It's not a whole bunch of time, but I would love for you to stay with me. I think that right now is a time to be really, really courageous. I think you were called to do this webinar because I think that there's this feeling for you, like we are not here to be in fear. We are here to risk everything, kind of like you have this lifetime, you've been given this lifetime, you've been given this body and this sacred vessel. And you've been given the intuition and the awareness that you have for a reason. You know, you've been given your ability to see through illusions for a reason. And I think that it's actually very, very hard when you know that you have a lot of intuitive energy and you have a lot of healing energy that you want to share in the world, because right away you come up against the witch wound, which is that fear of allowing yourself to be seen for who you truly are, for the healer that you are, for the great transformer that you are. And so you stay hidden and you stay tucked in and you do the job that you think you're supposed to. You know, I think right now, considering everything that's going on in the world, we're getting pushed more and more and more into reclaiming who we truly are. You know, I think we have to be a little bit careful of labels, honestly. Like the witch to me is more of an archetype. So it's like an archetype that we are connecting to. It's an archetype that we are becoming more aware of. And that archetype is the great magician, transformer, and healer that is within us. It's not necessarily about like, you know, you do this witch wise course with me and then you go, okay, now I'm a witch. Like, you know, there's a part of you that always has been a witch, probably in many, many lifetimes past. So it's not necessarily about putting labels on ourselves, but it is about activating the different archetypes or waves of healing energy within us that are needed at this time. And I'm a big believer in not creating energetic litter all over the place. So not necessarily throwing things away, even things that have been incredibly wounding for us, like the witch wound, you know, like all those times when you have been betrayed by people you've trusted, like all those times that you felt like you had to make your light smaller in order to make somebody else's light feel bigger. It's not about throwing these experiences away. It's about putting them into our own kind of energetic cauldron and then allowing it to transform into wisdom. So I offered this course in the fall, and it was really focused on the witch wound because we need to look at it, we need to understand it. But I think now is the time where we're meant to take what we've learned from experience, from experiencing the wounding in our lives, from experiencing the shadow energies within the feminine of betrayal and comparison and the insecurity that is brought from it, put it all into our cauldron and allow it to transform, basically, like into our wisdom. So we're taking a step back from victim consciousness and we're saying, I am not a victim, I am wisdom embodied. And everything that I have ever been through, and even every time that I have chosen fear over love, you know, because sometimes we have this like straight path that we walk, and sometimes the path has to be windy and craggy and a little bit messy, and that's okay too. But I am not a victim. I am wisdom embodied. I'm not a product of my wounds. I am deciding today who I get to be and who I get to show up as. And I think that this is really, really, really a very important energy to carry into the healing world at this time. You know, I'm not going to get too much into talking about myself and who am I and why am I an authority to speak on this subject, because there's so much you can read about me online and on my website. And it just doesn't feel important to talk too much about what this form is. But what I can say is that I have dedicated my whole entire life towards healing of myself and of others as soon as I was old enough to begin. And I have therefore been in the healing world, in the spiritual world, the more ambiguous spiritual world for a very, very, very long time. And I've seen a lot of like pain body connections showing up within the healing world. And for example, one of the reasons why I like to move away from labels is because I think that there's a lot of people who feel something or they have some kind of dream and they need to put a label on it because they're so afraid of mystery. so they have to identify, what planet they come from, or what star they come from, because there's a little bit of a fear of mystery, instead of just being okay with just being who you are, and understanding that this lifetime is a big act of finding ourselves and becoming more fully human. So I feel like it is important to take my over 20 years as a professional within the healing world and share some of my wisdom and offer some guidance for folks who are interested in sharing their healing gifts with the world in a really authentic way. And I don't think that it is easy to share your gifts with the world in a really authentic way, because one, you got to come up against that fear of vulnerability, which is pretty challenging. You got to kind of show who you are, which, if we're carrying the witch wound, that can be a really scary thing to have. And then you also have to kind of look at the way business is done in the world, and energy exchanges are done within the healing world, and navigate how to do that in a way that is like a win-win-win for all involved, in a way where we're really respecting nature and the cycles of things, and we're really respecting ourselves and the people who come to us for healing. And I feel like I'm pretty good authority on this kind of thing. And I've learned a lot on this kind of thing from messing up a lot along the way. I think when I was really young in my healing work, I was very dogmatic. I was sort of like tied up into my own dogmas without necessarily realizing that they were dogmas. And I really truly thought that if you do yoga, you meditate, you get some Reiki, you eat a healthy vegetarian diet, that you could heal anything. And I didn't realize that there's some people who don't heal that way, or they even maybe don't want to heal, or they're not ready to heal. And I think that I'm a slow learner in a lot of ways. And I actually have come to really appreciate that about myself, because the lessons that come through for me come through from just experience and lived experience rather than intellect. In the Witchwise course, what you can really expect from my teaching style is a combination of a lot of kind of water. Like, I'm a Scorpio sun and a Cancer moon, and I have a really watery, kind of dreamy way of teaching and guiding. I really like to channel while I teach, and with the difference between, for example, Witch Wound, which we did in the fall, and Witchwise, is that I am going to be focused on who the group is that I have in front of me, and kind of tuning into the energy of the collective group that is in that specific course, and channeling what is needed for that specific course. And I'll also be channeling what is needed for the group that has come together for this specific Witchwise course, based on the one-on-one work that I will get to do with you, and through looking at the common threads in the one-on-one work that I do within the entire group, and focusing what I share and what I offer within the container of Witchwise, this 7-week course, based on who shows up for this course. And then in addition to that more watery kind of intuitive way of guiding and teaching, I really am just, I think the best way to describe it is like a super spiritual nerd. So all the topics that I bring forward are things that I am interested in sharing with folks. Maybe that would be a particular plant that is coming through, or a particular practice, or a particular way of working with the elements, or whatever it is. And also like the history of energy work, the history of the witch, just kind of taking a real look at how that history comes through for us in current times, and just connecting the dots between the different timelines through study, basically. So I have sort of this kind of structured, more intellect focused, nerdy self. I love making a slideshow. I have all my notes ready. I'm making you a workbook with it, so you can also nerd out too with this course, combined with just really channeling what is needed for the group in front of me. With Witchwise, that is beginning on Spring Equinox and going through to Beltane, I am feeling like there's a lot of ceremony coming through, and there's a lot of wisdom from the plants coming through. There's a lot that the earth actually, I think, is wanting to share through ceremony and through her plants. So I'm going to be really interested to see what comes up there. One particular plant that has come through and spoken up really loudly about wanting to be shared in this container of Witchwise is gorse. And she is this very spiky, kind of fierce bush that grows all along the roadsides in Ireland, where I am now, and the UK. And she just has these sweet little yellow flowers and super thorny spikes. And I think she's a really amazing example of courage. So to me, she feels like such a powerful plant ally for Witchwise at this time. So, for example, gorse will be coming through a lot. I think apple blossom also has a lot to say too. Hawthorn also has a lot to say. So I'm interested in sharing a little bit more of my deep love of plants and working with plants in a ceremonial way. I'm also really interested in talking more within a collective container about psychedelics and psychedelic plant medicine and the way it is being used today. And for those of you who don't know, which again, I don't want to get too into it because you can read about it kind of everywhere online when you research me. I spent 8 years going back and forth to the Amazon in Peru. And I got to do this really amazing apprenticeship there and really deeply work with the plant medicine, ayahuasca. And it was a really, really powerful time and a really powerful experience. And it's interesting because as I'm putting together this course now, it's almost like there's like a vibrational essence that ayahuasca would like to share too, and things that she would like to say, and especially ways that we can work with her in a really respectful way that doesn't deplete our energy, her energy, or the energy of the Amazon. I think that right now, we really need to focus on loving every part of ourselves, calling ourselves in, calling ourselves home. I think that we need to understand that we have had both the witch and the witch hunter within us. I think we need to really kind of come from a place of forgiveness. If we're interested in being healers, I think that we have to also forgive ourselves for the times which we have shown up as hurters. If we're interested in being healers, I think we have to forgive ourselves for the times which we have shown up as hurters. And this is very, very important, because when we're talking about transforming wound into wisdom, we have to understand that we have caused a lot of wounding. We have to own that we have wounded ourselves. And because we were so wounded, we have wounded others as well. I think a real big mistake in the healing world is this kind of like holier than thou vibe that can happen, and a lack of owning one's faults. And that's why I just really have so much resistance to anyone who places themselves on a pedestal saying that they are the great and all-powerful teacher, and you have to do whatever that they say that you should do in order to be healed, and you have to wake up at this time and do things at that time, and you have to follow their program to the T in order to be healed. I cringe a little bit, honestly, at that kind of thing, and I see it everywhere in the spiritual world, unfortunately, right now. And I think actually when we're not owning the times where we have been hurters instead of healers, when we have been the witch hunter as well as the witch, as well as the healer, then we are robbing ourselves of a really great wisdom. Forgiveness is a really, really powerful, transformative medicine. And I think that it's just really, really, really deeply important to have this. And through forgiveness, well, maybe first we need acceptance and understanding, and then, compassion and forgiveness, right? But through forgiveness, maybe we learn how to love every part of ourselves. I want to say one other thing about healing here too, is we are actually never healing others. You have to understand this. For those of you who are familiar with my work, you hear me say a lot, be your own healer, right? And it's actually never us that is healing another. Really, what we're doing is we are embracing and holding ourselves. We're creating space, right? So we're embracing and we're holding ourselves, and we're learning how to love ourselves, and we're learning how to become more fully human, because that is what we're meant to do in this lifetime, is learn how to become, we are born into this body for a reason, right? And then we can radiate that energy of being in sacred union with the body and the soul out to others. And from our presence, people can feel that vibration of healing. And if we have these parts of ourselves that are discarded and thrown into the shadow and not allowed, we have these like held onto resentments from past relationships, or held onto wounding from friendships that had long since served their purpose, or places where we're still incredibly angry with ourselves for the times in which we've been incredibly self-destructive and turned into our own witch hunter. When we try to like cut that off and just come into this place of like, oh, I have everything figured out, I'm completely healed, and now I can heal you, we sort of come into a place of skimming the surface. It's like, yeah, healing can occur, and we can inspire others for sure from that place, but we're really just like kind of skimming the surface. And when I think about the witch, when I think about the archetype of the witch or the energy of the witch, I'm feeling into also this energy of like the ancient one, the wise woman, the hag, if you will, and the energy of below and ancestral wisdom, and the ability to go way, way, way down deep into the heart of things. And I think that that is really deeply needed collectively when we think about healing at this time. Like, there's a lot of work around the divine feminine right now going out there into the world. And that's great, because we need to have this balance between divine feminine and masculine. And it's so incredibly important, right? But a lot of what is going out there from a visual perspective and from a conversational perspective is that the divine feminine is just this sort of like flowery, pieced out, like kind of light and love. And that's all it is, energy, which it is, that is a part of the divine feminine. But I also think that like that hag, that wise woman, that ancient one, that witch is also a very, very incredibly important anchor to the ability for the divine feminine to rise. You think about trees, right? And it's so amazing to me how the root structure of a tree oftentimes grows below ground as big as the branches reach out above ground. There's that balance when you think about the image of the world tree, which, by the way, like that tree of life or that world tree image is something that is very, very present and prevalent in almost every pre-patriarchal culture. We immediately feel that sense of balance, like the roots are going down as deep as the branches are reaching up high. So we can't only reach up high, and we can't only be in that goddess energy, which is important and it's beautiful, and we need the sun, right? What we have to do though is also like go down deep, dig our roots down deep, feel rooted within something, feel rooted within our own practice. I want to get a lot into ceremony too, and like approaching ceremony from a place of confidence. I'm really hoping that the participants of this course leave with a sense of confidence. I think that that is extremely, extremely important. And so I really want to get into ceremony, yes, for the different times of the year and whatnot, but I really want to get into what actual ceremony is. And I'm going to keep this a little bit of a secret. That's Scorpio in me. I'm going to keep it a little bit of a secret, but you know, I'm going to do a lot throughout the Witchwise course of really engaging you to think about these things and to consider these things and to create authentic ceremony for yourself, ceremony that not necessarily belongs to you, but ceremony that you belong to. Because there's so much like wanting to own this and own that and label yourself this and label yourself that. But actually, if you allow your roots to go way, way down deep and you activate that inner wise woman, that inner ancient one, that witch within you, then you will realize that you have now, and you have always had, your own deep well of just absolutely healing wisdom to share with the world. And it is beautiful and it is needed. And from accessing our own ceremony, our own wisdom, our own healing, that's how we can come into the world as a healer. And by the way, by healer, I mean, it's anyone who's practicing kindness. You know, it's you can be a waitress professionally and be an incredible healer, right? But anyone who is practicing kindness, because kindness, not niceness, but kindness is deeply, deeply transformational. But anyways, if you're coming into that place of a healer and you're wanting to actually be effective in what you share in the world, you have to be really, really confident in what you do. Like today, to do this webinar, it takes a lot of confidence to get up in front of you and share myself as myself, as Deborah. You may know me as Mama Medicine, but you know, to share myself truly as myself takes a lot of confidence. And how do I get that confidence? Where does that confidence come from? You know, and it is from owning my own wisdom and digging my roots way, way down deep. A lot of times people think healing or to become a healer has to do with what you can put on, like this certificate and this teaching and this course and this course and this book and that book and this travel, right? And while these things are great, actually, I truly think that being a healer has so much more to do with what we can take off. Like, how open can we be? How generous can we be with who we are and with ourselves? And it has to do with taking things off, taking these walls and taking these layers off. And so I'm hoping that from the Witchwise course, you gain a ton of confidence in just really who you are and who you always have been as a healer. But to me, the work is really in reclaiming the wise witch. That's where the work begins. That's how we go deep. That's how we access healing without just skimming the surface. So I want to go into a little ceremony with you, and then I want to also save a little time for questions. I see some questions coming through, but for right now, before we get into the questions, go ahead and just close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. And again, feel the body and the soul as each other's soulmates. And I want you to imagine yourself at a very sacred, hidden well in a cool, wet, and brilliantly green place. This well is a well that many people, especially many women from many different faiths and backgrounds, have prayed over. Not necessarily because someone told them to, but because something deep inside said, go. Sing to the water. Pray by the water. Offer your tears to the water. Collect some water and bring it to other places of water without needing to know why. In full embrace of the mystery. It's something inside, greater than the mind, called all these souls to this beautiful well. And you stand at this well, barefoot, with thick, dark mud curling up around your feet and ankles, reminding you of the fertile soil that you come from. And there at the well, is a beautiful old woman, old, ancient, with bright and wild eyes and a violet light all around her. And she is holding a flame that has been burning and enduring for centuries. And you look down into your hands And there is a small white candle. You hand her your candle. And from this ancient flame, she lights your candle and hands it back to you. Beloved one, dear wanderer, she says to you, may this candle ignite the light in your heart. And may all the dreams of your heart come true. For you have worked hard. For you have overcome so much just to be here. Feel the flame that she has given you join together with your own bright spirit as a gentle wind blows through, cleansing your aura and putting out the physical flame. The old woman takes a small shell she's found by the sea and collects some of the well water. And she pours it on your heart and your hands and your back and your head. And it is wonderfully cold. And she pours it on your feet and on your belly. And you feel so nourished and so loved and so held. And you open your eyes and you see that you've been looking into the reflection from the water of the well the whole time. And that this old wise woman, this ancient one, she has been within you this whole time. And she is a part of your soul. Asking you to remember. Remember who you are. You collect some of the well water with the inspiration and a promise to yourself to share with others the remembrance and the activation of the inner wise woman who has been there all along. Feel the courage Feel the shoulders go back and down, the head go up, the belly engage and become strong. Feel the determination and the willingness to share this love and this unity. For the highest good of all involved. And letting the eyes open, coming into the space. As I'm giving a moment for questions to come in, I just want to say that in the spirit of celebrating mystery, I'm very excited to invite you to the Gates of the Goddess, an online adventure into sacred mysteries of the feminine. Many of you in this beloved community have strong traits of the sacred rebel, insatiable curiosity, a love of wisdom, and the courage to step into the unknown. In honor of sacred curiosity, we created the Gates of the Goddess, a fun game to coax your wild spirit out to play. To play, visit mamamedicine.com/play and follow each set of instructions to receive the key to unlock each gate. Once you unlock all of the gates, you'll win access to an exclusive aura reading session with me, where I'll choose 3 guests in attendance to get their auras read live. The first key is the goddess of love and beauty, Aphrodite, all lowercase. So we're getting really nerdy here with the game, but it'll be really fun. I hope that you'll play, and I hope to see you in it. I love doing things like goddess games. This sounds fun. I have a question. Would you recommend to do this course while pregnant? I actually think it could be a really, really powerful time to do this course because you're very much in that womb wisdom energy. So you're going through a powerful rite of passage when you're pregnant. So I think it could be an absolutely amazing time to do it. How do we connect with gorse flower bush? How does this look like? Could you provide an example? Thank you. Look up gorse online. You can put it into any search. It's a pretty well-known plant. And it's actually one of the letters in the ancient Irish alphabet, the Ogham, which is also possible to use as a divinatory tool, which is pretty cool. So that could be a cool way to connect with gorse, or, you know, looking up some information about gorse, get your nerd on with it and learn about it and see if the energetic symbolism can come through the actual physical properties of the plant for you. But I'll be getting into gorse in Witchwise, absolutely. So I'm not going to drop too much about her here. Do you work with the energies of eventual diets that you might did? I think what you might be talking about is either the dietas I did in the Amazon or like the liver cleanse that I'm currently on now, or just finishing up now. Yeah, a little bit. We will get into that because cleansing is a really important part of transformation. What if you can't make the live sessions? Will it be recorded and as powerful if done alone later? Yeah, absolutely. I actually recommend with this course, it's very intense. You know, there's a lot being activated. Like many of the folks who did Witchwise in the autumn are still processing it now. So you'll have access for a long time after the course and access to the community forum. And I really want to encourage you to go ahead and do it at your own pace. And for those of us who are super energetically sensitive, we might not be that interested in connecting to the community forum or anything like that. We might want to be like doing it alone. And then at the very end of the course, you have the courage to connect to the community forum too, or something like that. So it's very much like join live if you can, but move at your own pace with it and trust your intuition with it. Let's see. I'm gonna look over here too. What if I am from Australia? Will the lifetimes be hard to get to in the Witchwise course? I have to think about this because I think you should look up when the live sessions are based on your time zone. But I actually think it might not be too rough for Australia. It's very hard to find a time to join live with our worldwide global community. So again, no stress if you can't join live. Do you offer scholarships for this course? Thanks so much. Yes. So the full scholarships are completely full right now, but I am still receiving applications for the partial scholarships up until the 8th of this month. So make sure that you apply soon. Spaces are limited in the course itself and for scholarships, and the course is already filling up quite a bit, which I'm very excited about. Claire says course times are 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. Eastern, but there are replays in full community space as part of the course. So you will be able to engage in the course. Thank you, Claire. I love you. And you have 12 months access to the course and to the community forum. So it's really no rush. It's really, really move at your own pace. Do all iterations of Witchwise/Witch Wound go deep into plants? I'm feeling called to this course. I very much need its healings and community, but if not awarded scholarship this time, will the next round be similar? I think like a big part of working with the witch energy is working with our our earth and the roots and the trees and the plants and the soil. And so I feel like plants is just a big part of when we're bringing forward that witch energy. And I just want to say too, so I've been studying plants since I'm almost 40, or I'm going to be 40 this year. I started really deeply studying plants when I was 24. And I don't necessarily consider myself an herbalist, but I do have like a particular way that the plants talk with me that I'm very excited to share. And we'll also be sharing some herbal books and resources that I deeply love in the course as well. And I do believe it will show up in other iterations as well. I'm going to end the questions there. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. So if you're interested in Witchwise, please head to my website, mamamedicine.com, Witchwise, and sign up. And thank you so much. Sending you all so much love from Ireland, and take care. Bye.